Welcome to the very first ever Mysterialis podcast, where I, John Razimus, will be discussing paranormal, supernatural topics from a literal first-hand perspective, being an extreme experiencer, having experienced, that word is tough to say, experiencer, it's really not a word. It's just putting at the end of experience, but contactee, if you will, of spirits. People don't consider spirits an entity you can be a contactee of, but it's exactly the same as being an alien contactee, because from my perspective, all of these aliens are non-physical. They all have the same attributes of a spirit. But let's continue. This is the very first ever Mysterialis podcast. I will have guests on in the future, but right now I'm just going to be doing it Harland Williams style, solo, and let's face it, I'm probably going to be doing a lot of these solo. Not a big deal. Let's continue. Push forward, all right? I have like 338 videos on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/hoaxhunter. 338. That's a lot of videos considering the fact that some of them have 40 hours poured into them. Many of them have 12 hours poured into them. Even conservatively speaking, if I were to say 5 hours poured into each video, 5 hours times 338, let me get out the calculator and make this as monotonous as possible. That is 1,690 hours I've poured in to my YouTube channel. Let's see, spirituality has lost its meaning. That is very true. I see a lot of people mocking one particular group and praising another group. Why can't they see the similarities? Islam, Muslims, they believe in unseen beings. I tweeted this. I said just yesterday in a tweet, Muslims have a strong belief in invisible entities, unseen beings. They call the jinn. Some call them djinn. And I think that's a more modern Western term. It's almost like voodoo being taken from Africa and taken from Haiti, taken over to the West and turned into a toy with pins in it, and pretty much the actual understanding of the history behind it totally lost, the meaning totally lost. But Muslims believe in the jinn. They believe they're unseen, invisible. They believe they have families, jinn families. They believe they live and die. While I don't believe they die, I think these beings are immortal. Believing in them, period, is a giant spiritual leap above those that dismiss their existence. So I see a lot of people praising one particular group or another, but when you point out that they believe in unseen beings, invisible entities, jinn, demons, oh, no, I don't want anything to do with that. No. I'm going to be talking about spiritual things. Here and there, few and far between, I do see anti-Jewish comments on my channel in the comments section, and it ticks me off. I'm not Jewish. But I've literally seen comments where I'm saying, don't be anti-Jewish. That's not cool, dude. And I literally see the response, oh, you must be Jewish. You don't have to be a particular race or denomination to be offended at something that's clearly offensive. But when I see anti-Jewish comments on my videos, I block them. And they try to sympathize with me. Nope, I don't relate to hateful comments, period. No matter what the hateful comment is targeted towards. I'm pro-Jewish. I'm not anti-Jewish. And in many cases, I'm pro-Muslim. So I'll do the same thing. If there's some really hateful anti-Muslim comments, they believe in unseen beings. Let's try to see the similarities between our different viewpoints, and that's how planet Earth is going to spiritually ascend, is when you see the similarities and ignore the petty differences. So I tell anyone that leaves a hateful comment on my channel to crawl back to that weird part of YouTube and don't comment on my vids. Let's see, my most viewed video of all time would be the Poppy before they were famous, McCrudden. McCrudden. Is that even a real name? McCrudden? I mean, if he chose McCrudden as a stage name, that's a pretty cruddy stage name. But he stole a few minutes or a few seconds of my video. At 0.31 seconds of the Poppy before they were famous, you can hear a snippet of my video. 0 credit given. That's the equivalent of stealing content from a small YouTuber. I'm going to tweet this right now. It's the equivalent of stealing content from a small YouTuber. Because you're big, it's okay. Smiley face. But it's not okay. It's not cool, dude. Not cool. I'll remember it. I'll keep it in mind. Frowny face. All right. I heard the devil lives in Canada. And when you think about it, that would be the perfect place to hide. No one would expect it. I'm talking about the Roger Morneau story. He said the top #1 devil worshippers on planet Earth back in the 1940s were in Montreal, Canada. That's just something he said, all right? He has an extreme story, whether you believe it or not. Clearly something happened to him. Rest in peace. He wrote books on the subject, and that's his legacy. I relate to him because he experienced 6 months of poltergeist activity. I, too, experienced 6 months of poltergeist activity. When I tell those stories, I'm telling my history of something that actually happened. A lot of people see me as a joke, a comedian. In some of my videos, I inject more comedy than others because I like to put humor where something's super serious sometimes. It balances it out like yin and yang. And if I were to deliver my poltergeist stories that actually happened to me, objects moving around for 6 months, right in close proximity, I was wide awake, not a dream state. If I were to mention those subjects, stone cold, with 0 emotion, it would be the equivalent of a Slytherin robot approaching the subject. This happened, and then that happened. If I don't have some sense of humor about something that actually happened to me, it's not going to be me telling the story anymore. It'd be a robot. And, but that being said, some people confuse my serious videos with my comedy videos. I don't have that many comedy videos on my channel whatsoever. My Tommy Wiseau investigation is most definitely a skit. The whole premise was a skit before I recorded it. Knowing and loving Tommy Wiseau and The Room and everything about it, it's funny, all right? I have a sense of humor. I've been to AwesomeCon, Tim and Eric's convention outside of Comic-Con. I went to that like 4 years in a row. I think they only had 4 of them. I went to every single AwesomeCon for Tim and Eric's awesome show. Great job. If I've met Tim and Eric 4 times in person, actually I've met them 7 times in person. So that just goes to show how much of a fan of comedy I am, all right? To the point where Eric Wareheim almost knew me Well, he definitely knew me. He recognized me. This was years ago, though, so he wouldn't recognize me anymore. And I would never claim I was ever a friend to him. But he did private message me once and give me VIP tickets to his show. So I'm a fan of comedy, all right? So when people see my poltergeist scary ghost stories that are true, that actually happened to me, and then they see my comedy stuff, they're confused, like, oh, is all of it comedy? Is this some type of weird anti-comedy? If you can't tell the difference between my Tommy Wiseau skit and my John Teeter investigation that I conducted for 12 years straight, where I thoroughly did some extreme investigation proving, busting John Teeter and his identity, the original John Teeter, not any copycats with a 2 at the end. John Teeter is Maury Haber. Maury Haber is John Teeter. That's a fact. I busted it. It's case closed. But if you can't see the difference between that and my Flat Earth videos, where I totally make fun of the Flat Earthers out of comedy, because serious investigation on the Flat Earth need not exist. And that was my whole point of all my Flat Earth videos. There's no point wasting a second investigating whether the Earth is a sphere or not, because it is, period. And yes, I do accept the word of every pilot on planet Earth, every astronomer on planet Earth. They kind of know what they're doing. They kind of fly around the Earth from one city to another city, and they kind of go around this curved thing called a globe. I think they would know if they're going in a straight line. Anyway, besides all that, Flat Earth videos are definitely comedy. My Demon Poltergeist videos are not skits. They're not comedy. I'll be happy to share more information on my poltergeist story. History actually happened to me in future podcasts, but I want to talk about just random stuff in this one. In Mysterialis Ghost Investigations, I'm getting hard data, but it's going to be seen as a show, as some type of elaborate skit. Am I going to spend $1,500 on ghost investigation equipment I haven't even paid off yet? I've taken out loans to buy some of this stuff, and I haven't paid it off yet. For a skit? I don't think anyone spends $1,500 on professional grade ghost detecting, ghost investigation equipment for a skit. I only invested that because I'm curious to capture, I'm very serious about capturing evidence on camera, because I didn't do it back in 2011. And I'm not going to talk about that in this podcast. I'm going to talk about different stuff. Let's see, what do we got here? Ghosts. I personally believe human spirits ascend above, and they do not intermingle with the living because they're in a different dimension, and they couldn't intermingle if they wanted to. So I think a lot of these negative entities take advantage of that fact because they can intermingle. Why? They're low-dimensional beings. They're closer to us. We are low on the totem pole. Anyone who thinks we're super high up on the dimensional totem pole are wrong. We are low, low, low. So I was looking at the old M theory, and it did say something about two-dimensional beings. I 100% disagree with two-dimensional beings. I don't think two-dimensional beings exist. But feel free to show me some evidence and proof that two-dimensional beings exist. As far as the Large Hadron Collider in Geneva, Switzerland, that cost $15 billion to make, and maintaining it up until this point is exceeding $18 billion. So even after they built it, maintaining it is so expensive. $18 billion with a B. Dollars. And they're trying to find evidence, shooting particles into other particles. They explode on a very subatomic scale. The computers can see the data and see them exploding. The computers can see what's happening, and they're trying to capture evidence of the exploded parts of particles dissipating into higher dimensions. And they're trying to see that process. And it's so elusive. They still, to this day, haven't been able to prove higher dimensions exist. But they know they are there. They gambled on it with $18 billion. An $18 billion gamble is when you're sure. It's a sure thing. So scientists worldwide, they know higher dimensions exist. They've already gambled $18 billion knowing they exist. So it might take a little while. It might take a little bit of time. But they will eventually probably, they gambled on it. I have faith in the process, even though I don't think I wouldn't have approached it that way. I would have just bought $1,500 worth of ghost detecting equipment and shown that intelligent, invisible beings are right in front of our faces. We just can't see them because they are unseen. Like the jinn, like demons, spirits, ghosts, whatever you want to call them. Intelligent, conscious, not a memory of some event taking place in front of a brick wall, and that brick wall magically having magical powers, and suddenly that brick wall becomes the freaking holodeck in Star Trek, and a brick wall with no technology just magically can turn into the Star Trek holodeck and freaking project a hologram of something that happened. That's not reality. I don't believe in memory projecting bricks, alright? Memory projecting bricks is something that's never been proven, never will be proven. It's a big fat flim-flam, in my opinion, to hide the fact that spirits are consciously sitting there, standing there, right there in front of our face. They hide. They're extremely elusive. I could talk for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours about spirits and the nature of spirits. I'm writing 3 booklets on the nature of spirits and how to get spirits to reveal themselves for ghost investigation purposes. Pretty much just get the legitimate equipment, like a Mel meter with an antenna. That would be step number 1. Have true intent, not sarcastic intent. If you approach a subject with pure skepticism and sarcasm, spirits, they can see us invisibly, all right? They know what we're doing. They can see us, okay? Some people make the false statement that spirits don't have eyes. They see differently than humans do. Yeah, thanks for repeating, copying, and pasting something someone else said, but I 100% disagree. Spirits have ears, they can hear us. Spirits have eyes, they can see us. Are their ears and eyes exactly the same as ours? Clearly, if they're like a spirit made out of electricity, the Muslims say they're made out of fire. And I would say they're kind of like made out of electricity. They're kind of like intelligent electricity. It's a good analogy. It's not actually electricity. It's a spirit-type energy that is different from electricity, but it's close enough where devices that can detect electricity can also sometimes detect spirits. So it is really close to electricity. And even Gary Galka tweeted out a very cool tweet. Let me read that Gary Galka tweet. According to Gary Galka, the inventor of the Mel meter, 3 types of temperature-related reactions that I've seen. Number 1, ambient cold spot. Number 2, direct manipulation of a thermal circuit. And number 3, chills. Chills can be caused by an entity that can simulate nerves and muscles and creates anxiety traveling through your body. Chills are not detected with a device, Gary Galka says, and that seems to be some pretty sound observations he has made firsthand. He invented these devices. He tests them out on a regular basis. He gets a lot of EVPs, electronic voice phenomenon, recording on his recorders of legitimate voices. So a lot of skeptics will say, "Oh, you're just getting wires, man. You're just getting some signal from a radio or something, man." No, it's not just wires if you're not close to wires, and radio signals won't do that unless you have some type of radio frequency device, which these are not. But a voice? What do you say about a voice, Mr. Skeptic? You probably just recorded it. It's probably fake. You probably like voice acted that, and you just put it in there with editing, man. And that's the reason why many ghost investigation crews will play it back during and seconds after recording it to dispute such lazy claims as that. Not a single one of the voices I've recorded, and I haven't recorded too many. I've only recorded a handful. But the handful I did record on my Mysterialis episodes, namely the Tucson Tunnel episode, that was a hot spot to an extreme extent. I will actually go back, and I'll try if I'm not creeped out by the people that live there. See, homeless people, I'm very empathetic towards, and I don't want to bother the homeless people, and they don't want me bothering them. So it's kind of hard to conduct investigation, but I will go back in the day like I did the first time. Luckily, I didn't go there at night. Yikes. But they're going to be protective of their location, but that spirit was very active. It proved a theory I had after watching a couple Ghost Adventures episodes. A lot of people think Ghost Adventures is simply drama, and they exaggerate everything. Most definitely they do sometimes, but sometimes what they record is real. I don't think they go out of their way to deceive with fake evidence. I don't think they do. They buy the top-of-the-line ghost detecting equipment from people that actually believe in it, test it out, it works. I buy it, I test it out, it works. Anyway, my theory in the Tucson, Arizona tunnel that I suspected was haunted theory, because in 2 Ghost Adventures episodes, the Ghost Adventures crew said, you know what? This house is connected to this house with a tunnel underground. And in this whole area of this whole town, only these 2 houses are extremely haunted? That's interesting. Maybe the ghosts just go through the tunnel and they haunt both locations, and they actually, for some unknown reason, ghosts actually use this tunnel as a means of transport. They use the tunnel. You don't think of ghosts needing to use a tunnel. We usually think of ghosts in a Casper type way. They could just walk through walls. Why would a ghost need a tunnel? Many a times, the nature of ghosts is 100% illogical to the mind of the living. So you have to think like a ghost sometimes, and it's hard. It's difficult because it's illogical. But I do believe spirits use tunnels. And that Tucson tunnel I went to with many voices, a handful of voices, many for me. It's the most number of EVPs I've ever captured in one location ever. Multiple. And I didn't dub any of those. I didn't voice act any of those. I didn't pre-record any of those. It was 100% real. Raw. I uploaded the raw video unedited. It was real. They were actually real voices, to the point where I'm going back and I will try to record it and play it after recording it just to prove, but you pretty much need a crew of multiple people to be eyewitnesses. So I guess I can try, and it would be good because there are homeless people living there. Try to get someone to go with me to verify this is real, not pre-recorded. But at the same time, I need to bring headphones to listen and boost the volume. And sometimes you have to do that. You have to boost the volume. A lot of times, or at least the few times I've noticed, ghosts talk like this. That's not a spirit. And you're like, what? And you have to boost it, and it said, that's not a spirit. That was a ghost voice. Not right now. Obviously, I was just recreating it, but it was real. It happened. I recorded it, didn't hear it at the time, played it back, boosted it. It's there. It's a legitimate voice that's not from 2 miles away blowing in the wind. It's right there next to the microphone. EVPs, electronic voice phenomenon, is a legitimate phenomenon. I'm going to recreate it. I'm going to investigate it. It's something that can't be easily disputed when it's the real thing. A lot of fakers out there, a lot of fakers, so many fakers that I empathize with people that say, oh, that's fake, man. That's fake. I hit the mic. That's fake, man. Just like every other YouTuber, you're doing some clickbait fake nonsense. And I say, you know what? I'm not. It's 100% real. And they see I made a theme song for the intro or the outro. And they see that I put a lot of production value into something. And they're like, oh, that's just a show. You're just making a show. It's all fake. It's scripted. No, it's not a show. No, it's not scripted. I do put some effort into my intros and outros to try to make it somewhat entertaining to a certain extent, watchable. But that being said, I'm not in the entertainment business. Talking about my supernatural paranormal stories isn't for entertainment. From my perspective, it's just to speak the truth and share the truth to the planet Earth. This is what I experienced. Here it is. Take it or leave it. I'm going to do more book reviews in the future. Some people like my book reviews. But if you have a suggestion for something you would like to hear me talk about, you can see the acceleration of me buying ghost detecting equipment, ghost hunting equipment. You can see the extreme acceleration of me buying a few things and then bam, extreme chaos ensuing. I warned a guy on YouTube that bought a cheap $5 ghost detecting piece of equipment from China, and I bought the same one, okay? So I know where he's coming from. Look 6 months in the future. Buying a $5 EMF device, or maybe it was more like $6, $7. It was dirt cheap, all right? Buying the cheapest of the cheap EMF device, 6 months down the road, I have $1,500 worth of it. I haven't paid it off yet. And, yeah, I was just trying to prove what I experienced in the past. And most definitely, if I've proved anything, it has been that the spirits that bother me or linger around my stories, listen in. They've never left me, except for I think some landlocked ones did stay behind. I think the 2011 one stayed behind. The 2010 one took off immediately after it bothered me for the first time. But residually, I still have poltergeist activity. Residually. The night after recording the devil appeared in my dream video. And that video, from my perspective, I was holding that back. I was gonna share that in like 5 years or 10 years. So I consider that to be a sacred thing. And a lot of people see it as just a comedy skit. It's not a comedy skit, but on top of that, so how many times have you laid your head on the pillow and bam, you saw a freaking entity appear to you levitating in the sky, and bam, the dream's over? It was super vivid, super surreal, super in my face, okay? I immediately woke up after it was over, and I drew the picture, and I kept it in my binder for 3+ years. I share the video, and people are like, looks like a superhero in a comic book, man. I'm sharing like a gem, a pearl of my life. And people are like, that's stupid, man. So if you don't see me share any of my lucid dreams in the future in elaborate detail, It's because of that response. I'm sorry, but when you share something so personal... Now, I didn't consider that to be my most personal, all right? I have 10 times more personal, more sacred instances where I witnessed something in a dream or not a dream, and maybe a daydream, maybe a vision. And I will share those in the book, but maybe not all of them. I mean, it's hard to relate information that is hard to talk about. When you mention it, first of all, 99% of people don't believe my poltergeist story. It happened, but 99% of people that hear it are like, he's just doing it for attention. He's just doing it for this or that. Going off on too many tangents. All right. Elon Musk thinks we are in the Matrix. You know, we're not in the Matrix, Elon Musk. That video has 1,116 views. And I think it turned yellow here and there. A lot of my videos turn yellow, falsely. I think people that don't like the conclusion I come to, or they don't like my voice, whatever the case, I do get harassed to an extent, cyberbullied to an extent, but like 3Pac said, zero hoots, son. Zero hoots. Give zero hoots to the haters. Let me talk about 3Pac real quick. I first noticed 3Pac when Krispy Kreme was brand new. All right, we're talking the very first video Krispy Kreme ever posted. Krispy Kreme's very first video was called The Baddest, where he said he's super bad and he's holding a gun, and Mac Miller t-shirt with his friend Moneymaker Mike is holding it. Then he had to change his name to Froggy Fresh because Krispy Kreme, the donut company, they tried to sue him. You know, Krispy Kreme, the rapper, all he had to do was change the spelling of Krispy Kreme. All he had to do was change the spelling. Marshall Mathers can put Eminem because those are his initials. And then he spelled Eminem differently. E-M-I-N-E-M. And Eminem, the candy company, couldn't do anything about it because he spelled it differently. So I wish Krispy Kreme, Froggy Fresh, got a little bit different advice, because then he wouldn't have had to change his name, just change the spelling. But anyway, the first time I noticed 3Pac was in the comments section of Krispy Kreme The Baddest when it first came out. And he was talking trash. 3Pac had very little views. 3Pac had like 200 subscribers. He had like a handful of videos, and they only had 100 of views, maybe 1,000 views each, maybe a couple hundred views here and there. Very small amount of views. He was brand new. He did have a second channel I didn't know about at the time, but still very low views. 3Pac was just really good at self-promotion and self-marketing. He said, Krispy Kreme, I'm the baddest. I'm the best rapper. You're the worst. I'm the best. You're the worst. And I can't remember the exact comment because it's so long ago, you probably can't even find it. And Krispy Kreme had to delete that video and re-upload it as Froggy Fresh. And, but that's the first time I noticed 3Pac. And then I saw him post again, and again, and again. And he was saying how he's better than Krispy Kreme. This is pre-changing his name to Froggy Fresh. And he posted. And then I went to an Eminem video, like Rap God, when Eminem first came out with Rap God. And 3Pac's like, I'm the Rap God, son. And he's and 3Pac got a lot of hate, but like thousands of people commented on his comments. Then they went over to his page and they saw his content. And he developed his brand, and from scratch, just from leaving comments, he built up his channel to what it is today. 3Poc's channel today has 26,000 subscribers. And that's not too much more than it had when rest in peace, he passed away. But 3Poc left a message. Zero hoots, give zero hoots, son. I don't give a bunk squat hoot, flap jackety flap flap ploop plop, scoopity skip scop scoop. Almost like Kanye West even picked up this mantra. Zero hoot, son. I don't give any flappity flip flag jack scoot hunt bunk boot scooty boot loot toot about you. I don't care. And when you care less about your critics, you can accomplish great things. Trust me. Celebrities can't even exist without having the I don't care about my critics attitude. Because the celebrities that do care, they pretty much have a mental breakdown if they read every negative review and worry about it. And you've probably seen that quote, "A lion doesn't concern himself with the opinions of sheep." And that can be applied. Even though I don't see my fellow human beings as sheep, I see everyone as equal, having equal potential. Okay, let's see. Illuminati. If I make a video with Illuminati in the title, bam, it turns yellow. So, like, you have to be an approved, accepted YouTuber to even talk about certain subjects. It's pretty sad. It sucks pretty bad. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Corners of Rooms, that book I'm working on and working on and working on. I pretty much have to have a Kickstarter to even produce the thing. We will see what happens, you know. I probably need $5,000 to even create the hardbound edition that I want to create. I'm not going to go to some publisher that goes to Amazon, takes a cut, and it's printed on the cheapest stock softback known to man. That's not the quality I want for my book. And I researched it thoroughly. And $5,000, $4,000, even $3,000 is not enough. It's closer to $5,000 to go straight to the factory and print up 500 copies. That's just for 500 copies. $5,000 for 500 copies. It's pretty expensive to make a custom book with a custom logo and a custom cover. Not even in any expensive material. We're not talking leather here. We're talking just hardback in paper or cloth or something not too expensive, but not cheap, nice, maybe stamped with a nice foil logo. I want it to be done right, and perhaps I should put out the paperback version, but even then, I don't want to do it through any third party that's going to take most of the credit, maybe sneak the rights out under me, maybe take 90% of the profit. I'm not doing it for the profit, but a publisher is a publisher, and I would love to be a publisher. I would love to write books full-time. And so writing books full-time can only exist if you get paid to do it. This YouTube channel, I don't get paid much, but I don't want to drone on about that. Tombstone. I went to Tombstone looking for ghosts. A lot of people go there looking for ghosts and don't see anything. I went there again and again. It's not too far away. It's actually a couple hours away. Wow. So last time I was there, I actually brought equipment, my EMF meter, my Mel meter, to be specific, and I did capture something. Wow, I got 4,400 views on my Tombstone video. That's cool, more than I remember. But I got something in the most haunted location I know about. Next time I go to Tombstone, I want to go there all day and stay there overnight. And they have ghost tours there. And I'm going to bring my Mel meter with me during the ghost tour. And if they say, hey, no ghost tours, man. I mean, let me think what I'm going to say. If they say, hey, no Mel meters, no ghost detecting equipment, man. They're not going to say that. It's a ghost tour. That's what it's advertised as. Just got a comment. Let's see what this guy said. John, I've now watched this about 10 times, and I'm still amazed at the activity you witnessed. Will your book be covering these events in more detail? Most definitely, dog. Extreme detail. In the most extreme detail I can recall. The events happened. I almost understated how bad it was in this Frankenstein video I made, compiling 5 videos together. But the case by case incidents are, I will go into detail. Thanks for the comment. So, he's talking about my documentary, The Demon Poltergeist Haunting of John Razimus. So if I see a comment pop up while I'm recording, I will try to respond to it. I thank you for anyone that wants to collaborate. You want to come on the podcast, let me know. You actually got to email me or tweet me. People that think they're going to collaborate without an email or a tweet. I'm not telepathic. I can't receive this message telepathically. You're going to have to actually take the effort to go on over to twitter.com/Razimus. Send me a tweet. Follow me. I'll follow you back. Razimus@gmail.com. And I'll send you something back. Occasionally people like, hey, awesome, I love your stuff. Actually, I get that a lot. I just don't share those messages. They're private. So I'm not going to ever share any private conversation. Even if it goes sour, I'm not going to share that. Unless, generally speaking, like if someone did say, oh, are you an occultist? In a private message, and I've gotten that same question publicly, and I said I'm not. I've never practiced magic in my life, but I do collect occult books. I have a huge collection, and let's face it, I think to a certain extent, spirits are interested in the fact that I have a collection. But that being said, spirits were interested in me. Ever since 2010, especially 2011. And I didn't own a single occult book back then at all. So I think just certain personalities, as cliche as it is. Winona Ryder in the movie Beetlejuice. She wore all black. She didn't go out in the sun. She was a goth. Emo, if you will, to an extent. And spirits paid attention to her. That's just a story in a movie and a cliche. So if you put on all black and hope that will attract spirits, it necessarily will. I can't say because I've never tested that out, but I don't think it would attract spirits if you get in all black. I think it's the things you do that are peculiar. If you are a human that is peculiar in your thought process, peculiar in your execution of thoughts, when you work differently than other humans in this rat race of life, where 9 to 5 people just work, drive through traffic, read the morning paper, watch the evening news. If you do something radically different from that, radically different, I think spirits will pay attention to you more because they're like, hey, here's a human that's actually interesting. Or maybe they're like, hey, here's an oddity in the Matrix. He might be Neo. I don't know what they're thinking. They're spirits, but they're definitely more interested in humans that don't go through the zombified state of being zombies their whole life A to Z. Watching movies, playing video games. Now, interestingly enough, yes, I did watch movies and play video games when I was poltergeist bothered. But, when you're bothered and harassed, after 9/11, if you didn't go to a comedy show and watch a comedian tell some jokes, and you just moped around your whole life, the enemy won. So I kind of felt like that, except firsthand. I didn't want to give in. I was trying to just live a regular life, yet this stuff did still happen around me at the time I was living that regular life. I didn't want it to take over, consume me. Most definitely I've talked about it too much, but that's because of the lack of belief in the subject. I'm fascinated by the fact that no one believes me. It's interesting to me. It's interesting. Like, checkmate. Feel free to share the story. No one's going to believe. Checkmate, sucker. It's like, what? So I have to reference obscure stories. I only know about a few. Sigmund Freud witnessed a book fly off a shelf right in front of Carl Jung. Carl Jung had a poltergeist, and he didn't take photographs of it, so how do we know it happened? He extensively wrote about it, all right? Point blank, not in a comedy styling. He was a philosopher and someone who deconstructed stuff, and he came to a different conclusion to me. As for me, I know for a fact it was an independent entity. I don't want to go into detail, though, but you can't jump on top of yourself and choke yourself. You can't knock over objects at a great distance without telekinesis. I don't have telekinesis. I'll talk about my paranormal encounters in the future. But until next time, this has been John Razimus with the Mysterialis podcast number 1. 49 minutes in, we got 10 minutes to kill. Dang it, that's 10 minutes to kill. What am I up to these days? Collecting Tommy Wiseau baseball cards. I have some weird collections. I collect Clockwork Orange, not prop replicas, not little niche little toys, but I collect exact objects from the movie that existed, but they aren't necessarily replicas. They're actually production pieces that existed, and Stanley Kubrick was like, you know what? I like that statue. I'm going to use that for the movie. I like that comic book. I'm going to use it for the movie. I like that book. I'm going to use it for the movie. And you can find those actual items. So I'm such a fan of Stanley Kubrick. I try to find obscure items that he used in his movies that are real items. They're props, but they're not props at the same time. And you can find the actual, like I found the actual Beethoven statue. Very rare, extremely hard to find. I found it. I found the comic book. What else do I collect? Occult books. I collect gnomes to a certain extent. I don't want to have too many gnomes, but I do like gnomes. I was a huge fan of David the Gnome, the cartoon, when I was a kid. And there's a new Simpsons creator cartoon called Disenchantment on Netflix, and I watched it. I watched the whole thing. I was hoping it would be as good as Futurama, but the writing isn't as funny as Futurama. The writing is not as funny. It comes off to me, my impression of Disenchantment is they made it for money to sell to Netflix and get a paycheck, knowing that it's not going to be on TV. Or did they pitch it to Fox? Did they pitch it to Comedy Central? I don't know. Maybe they did and they passed on it and Netflix grabbed it up. Or maybe they specifically made it for Netflix. If they made it specifically for Netflix, it has the feeling of an Adam Sandler movie that Adam Sandler made specifically for Netflix. Kind of like cranking it out, not proofreading the jokes, ad-libbing. Or if it's not improv, It's just not much thought went into the jokes. It doesn't matter. Netflix already paid us. So, no offense. I thought the visuals were stunning. The art is very well done. Higher quality than even Futurama. In many scenes, if not every scene. But the writing, not as good as Futurama. Not as good as The Simpsons. Cartoons aside, I'm interested in other things. I don't obsess on cartoons all day and all night. I barely watch any cartoons. I was a big fan of Futurama. I'll catch The Simpsons, but I don't watch every Simpsons episode. I probably missed hundreds of Simpsons episodes, so I'm definitely not a fanatic, but I am a fan to a certain extent. I have a frog right here. I have a chocolate frog, a milk chocolate-shaped frog. Net weight 5.3 ounces, 150 grams, and I got this couple years ago at Universal Studios Hollywood gift shop in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and I've never opened it. So at this point it's like a couple years old. I don't know if it's edible. But I'm killing time. Time's getting killed. Maybe I'm a boring person without the supernatural paranormal stories. So be it. I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind being a boring person. To be honest, I wouldn't mind at all. If the 2010 incident never happened, if the 2011 incident never happened, of spirits bothering me, I would be cool with it. Matter of fact, I would probably be living a more productive life. I probably would have a higher paying job. I'd be focusing on that and not this. Not this channel, youtube.com/hoaxhunter. Yes, this isn't the most entertaining and exciting video you've ever seen, and there's no video. There's going to be one graphic sitting right there, because video is a lot of work, although the compilation process, the rendering process, the upload process still will be extreme in getting this up. Interesting stuff to talk about. I spent about a year on the Mysterialis show, YouTube show, intro. I spent about a year on that. I thought about it for a year, planned it for a year, storyboarded it for a year, executed it with a camera I bought specifically for it, and that camera is not cheap. I'm still paying off the camera. I think I'm very close to paying it off because I bought it before the ghost detecting equipment. I don't turn ghost detecting equipment on in my house anymore. I canceled all the Corners of Rooms experiments because spirits showed up when I was trying to go to sleep. I think I skipped over a story of when I was talking about the spirit. I think I skipped over a story when I was talking about the video I posted. The devil appeared to me in a dream the night I filmed that. I'm just chilling. I open up Netflix or something. Okay, I'm just doing normal stuff, all right? And I check this game forum, and that's what I usually do regularly, all right? And I'm compiling, rendering the video. I upload it to YouTube, but I'm just doing regular stuff on the side, having dinner and whatnot. And I had 4 distinct knocks on my wall that night. One of them was so loud, it actually knocked over something on my dresser. I don't know what was disturbed or moved on my dresser, but I heard the knock on the wall, and I heard something in my dresser, like, move slightly. So we're talking minimal poltergeist activity, knock-wise. 4 knocks. We're talking that loud, and then that loud again in a different location, and then that loud, and then the last two were a little bit quieter. But I turned on my camera, and I do believe I recorded one of the knocks. Out of all 4, I only recorded one. And I think I recorded the weakest one. I recorded one that was like... I recorded one of the smallest ones. But I'm going to upload that. It's in a long video, though, because I had my video camera recording for like 3 hours straight, trying to capture it. So it's going to take a long time to upload that 3-hour video, but I'll find that 1-second snippet of the knock on my wall. And of course, it's easily dubbable. You can easily dub knocking on a wall and editing that into a video. Anyone could do that. So there's a double-edged sword to telling the truth, speaking the truth on the paranormal. If people reject the information and easily, lazily say it's faked, what are you going to do? You can't really do anything other than continue to tell the truth and say, hey, after death, if there's a recording of everything that happened, you can watch it. It happened. You will know of a surety of a fact that I wasn't making any of it up. Short of saying that, short of saying, the supreme being that sees everything knows it happened. So I'm content knowing that. But a pathological liar will use the same line. And they will use the line thinking there's no afterlife, thinking there's no supreme being. So there's a huge, huge conundrum. There's a huge who's lying, who's not lying issue on the planet Earth. There are many people that just pathologically lie their butts off. It personally ticks me off, but you can't stop it. You can't stop it. And I would say the top YouTubers in the realm of the paranormal, they're going to make up fake content over and over and over again. And if their evidence is 1 billion times better than anything I'm going to capture, it's because it's fake. They have a production crew that cranks it out. Or they're just really good at editing with video, with 3D rendering, whatever the case. I don't fake anything, which is why you're not going to see any super sensational stuff on this channel unless I strike the paranormal lottery and a full-body manifestation and dematerialization and levitation of objects happens on video. It's theoretically possible that could happen. These entities know that even if they did do that on camera, that few people would believe me, but you'd be surprised what goes viral these days. I saw a picture fall off the shelf. It looked like a fishing line pulled it. Didn't look like poltergeist activity to me, but I can't prove whether it was or not. I can't prove it. So, even an eyewitness to the stuff can't know for sure if something's true or not. So I'm not the end-all, be-all in what's true and what's not true. I can just offer my opinion. And my opinion is this and that, here and there. It might vary from your opinion. I respect other people's opinions and viewpoints and perspectives. With that being said, I have to end the podcast, episode 1 of Mysterialis with John Razimus. Stay tuned, more podcasts coming soon, more videos and episodes coming soon. I thank you for listening. This has been John Razimus with the Mysterialis podcast, number 1. Be seeing you.